trying to.
Yep.
Start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley. Here. Trustee McFetrich. Here. Trustee Trombley. Here. Trustee Garrett. Here. Mayor Martin.
Here. Motion to approve the minutes of the September 9th, 2013 meeting.
So moved.
Is that a second?
Second.
Any discussion on these?
Good.
There's no discussion, we'll have a vote. All those that approve the approval of the minutes for September 9th, 2013, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Presentation of petitions, communications, notices, general question period for members of the community
Are you addressing the animal issues tonight?
at 7 o'clock.
Oh, okay, I'll hold that till 7.
I'm here just to discuss briefly 29 Cedar Street, and you may see there's some correspondence that was sent in with respect to the status of the home. The bottom line is the only portion of the structure that needs to be corrected is, structurally corrected anyway, is the roof, and been working with our codes enforcement officer to get that in line and sealed up, and been, proceeding to try to make it habitable again.
Okay. Can you elaborate on your plans, Ken?
Well, we're just waiting to get a building permit, and after that, to try to complete putting on a new roof on the back. And once that's in and sealed, it should be suitable for doing what needs to be done in terms of the wiring and walls and things that were damaged by the smoke inside of the home. So I think it would make a pretty good winter project at that point in time.
Okay. And Mike, as I think we discussed this afternoon, once the building permit has been issued, you will do your formal inspection?
Correct. Once the work starts and they demolish the roof portion of it and they rebuild the roof, which is the most damaged part of the house. And that would take care of sealing up the house, so there'd be no access, no holes, no issues of that nature then.
And all the openings in the house, second floor and stuff, in the front would be sealed up. And
Yes.
when do you anticipate you're going to start this again?
As soon as we get a building permit, it might be the next day or 2 days later.
Okay. What does the board think about this? Any questions for Ken? Mike?
I spoke with the architect that Mr. Delafrange is hired, and he's supposed to submit a proposal to do the engineering work, I believe. Now, they have to come to an agreement that Mr. Delafrange is going to accept what the architect wants to do, and obviously there's going to be a cost associated with that, and once I have that document, I can issue the building permit. If I don't get drawings with a stamp on it, I can't issue a building permit for this project. Because I spoke with the engineer today, architect, and he indicated that even though the southern portion of the roof needs to come down and be rebuilt, there's a part of it that attaches to the western part of the house where there's a few issues there that once it's uncovered, he has to come back and evaluate it and make a determination of how they have to proceed to repair it. It wasn't something that was readily available to see when he was there, so you have to work with the architect, as the project goes along. So Mr. Delafrange has to agree to whatever the architect is going to tell him he needs to do, and, you know, then I get the documents, I can issue the building permit. Short of that, I can't issue a building permit. Well, I won't, put it that way. I have to have a stamped drawing of this reconstruction.
So when is that going to happen?
Well, that's up to Mr. Delafrange and the architect.
So what is your plan for this architect getting us this information?
Essentially, we've, need to agree upon what construction materials are gonna be used, and, he needs to have that drafted up in suitable format. I don't know how many, days it'll take him to do that, but we're actively working on that.
So there's obviously a disagreement between what materials you feel should be used and what he feels should be used. Is this the gist of this conversation I'm getting?
No.
There's
We
not a
just have to-
disagreement?
We just have to agree on what is there and understand what's being put in.
Would you have a scheduled appointment with him to come to this agreement? Because this is just a very non-committal response here to anything happening. This isn't giving us any answers to move forward.
No, we're actively working on this thing. We've been in communication even today, so, and last week and the week before. I think there's been about 3 weeks in between there, but it's something that we're actively working on. I mean, for instance, he could present in a sketch slate roofing, and I might want metal. So to make sure that we have an understanding of what is going to go on the outside and what's going to go on the inside is important. It's just to have a meeting of the minds.
Right, but when is this meeting of the minds going to take place? He's not going to tell you put on a slate roof. That's ludicrous. You know, that's not even an option here. But what I'm saying here is you're not giving us dates, you're not giving us specifics, and what we had said is we wanted to have specifics, and this is not specific. This to me is very vague.
I think it's quite ascertainable. We're working on this on an ongoing basis. If I don't know what that noise was.
Something falling on something.
Yeah. We just need to come to an agreement on the materials and the use. They're doing their plans in the course of their ordinary business, and I'm reviewing what they do. So
have they presented you with anything yet, and you've gone back and said, no, I'm not going to use those materials, I want to use these materials? Are you in a negotiation phase yet, or have they not presented you with anything still, and you're waiting for that presentation? Do you understand what I'm getting at? I want some specifics.
they presented one plan, and I've reviewed it, and I said I'd like things done differently and given direction in terms of what I'd like to be presented in the diagrams. And so I expect that's what I'll see at the next juncture.
So give me an example of what they presented you with and what you didn't like. What did you come back to with?
We were looking at adding an additional story onto the building, and the costs were just way too high for that. So we're going with original construction in terms of replacing exactly what was there in the same exact format.
Okay. So,
Mr. Martin, I think we need to start putting a time limit on this. I mean, we had a time limit before. I can foresee this dragging out through the winter months. I think we need to set a date that we will have some stamped drawings from the architect or start moving in a different direction.
Would you anticipate, Ken, that you're going to meet with the architect again?
This week.
And how soon do you think you're going to have plans?
That's up.
Because the building permit, am I right, it can't be issued until you see the plans.
Correct.
Well, if you can push the drawings out, I'm not sure how fast they'll be able to turn them out. They have staff there. I haven't dealt with them. It might be 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know the answer to how fast they produce them.
Well, we're moving very rapidly into the winter season here where outside work is not going to be able to get done. And the board has, I think, shown a great deal of patience here in terms of seeing some progress started and progress done on that building. I was going to suggest to the board that once Michael gets these plans and issues a building permit, that we give 15 days to see some progress started on the roof and closure of the openings in this building to prepare it for winter, and a 45-day limit on getting at least this part completed before winter, before the snow limits how much outside work can be done on this building. I think this is I know that we have looked at this for a long time here, and I think, as Trustee Trombley has implicated, it's going to get to the point where it's going to be very difficult to do any outside work here. I understand that this is a personal venture for you, you know, your home and things, but it's also the idea that we're moving into the winter season here, and I think things have to be done. I think a time limit has to be imposed here.
Well, in the report, Mayor Martin, it's stated specifically that this section is in danger of collapsing and needs to be shored up immediately. So there's a safety issue involved here with the one portion of this home. Does he need a permit to get this thing shored up for safety issues? I mean, that's our first and foremost concern. I mean, we had really strong winds today, and they're stating that winds, snow, just wind gusts can bring this down. That's how unsure this section of your home is. I'm thrilled that overall, substantially, it's repairable, Ken. I mean, you know, that would be the best thing for you to get back into your home. Don't get me wrong here, but we really need to have specifics of when this is going to happen, because there is a safety issue here at this point. And again, that was stated last month, your neighbors complaining, you know, that this is an eyesore, this is what they have to look at, and they're maintaining their properties. So that's where, you know, we're looking, and I'm concerned safety-wise.
Yes.
Here with this section of the house. And, you know, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, well, you pick up the phone and you say to them, when will you have these drawings, period? Give me a date and time, I need to have it, and, you know, go from there. But this is, you know, we're in the time of year that the weather is not going to be predictable for anything.
I don't think anybody's more interested in seeing this completed than myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been working with them and trying to get information from them as soon as I can. And as soon as I have a building permit, we'll be into cutting the roof off.
Right, but we can't give you a permit until we have the plans. So that's what we need to know, is when are these plans going to be forthcoming? And I would think that if you call the architect directly and say, I need a date, and this is the bottom line, this is something that's been going on, and the village is pushing for an answer here, when can you have these ready for me? I mean, are you able to do that? To ask for a date?
I'm certainly able to ask for a date.
Want to wait until the imposition of a time frame here to get this started? I mean, we can get a date, but until that's received and Michael can issue the building permit, we're still looking at, we're almost October here, we're almost be soon into November. And as the report, and as you brought up, this report states that there is a potential of collapsing through the first floor. So speed is of the essence here.
Mike, in dealing with architects in the past for any issues, how long do you find that it takes them to come up with drawings?
Depends on how complex the project is, but in something like this, I would think that within 2 weeks you would have it. I would suggest, though, rather than put a time frame on when you're going to get plans, is put a time frame on when this portion of the project would be completed. That way there, if it takes the architect a month to get plans, it's not through no fault of the board. It'd be up to Mr. Delafrange to put pressure on the architect to get the plans. You had mentioned 45 days. 45 days from today is what, the middle of December? I mean, by that time, if things aren't buttoned up, somebody's gonna have some awful cold fingers getting the project done.
You're looking at the middle, third week of, you know.
Yeah. So within 45 days, you should be able to get plans, raise the roof and put the new one on, and then close the project.
In the meantime, does he need anything to secure,
No.
to shore up this building?
No.
So my request to you, Ken, would be to secure this building, first of all, immediately. If we're gonna give any further extension to work on this, you really need to secure that section of the building, while we wait for the plans here. I think 45 days is an excellent benchmark period to have this roof replaced within 45 days.
And the building buttoned up, closed up.
Well, I spoke with the architect today, and he said he is doing a proposal to what Mr. Delafrange is alluding to. And it sounds like they're on track to come to some agreement. I mean, there's not a whole lot that's gonna go into designing a roof. You're talking about rafters and collar ties and wind loads and snow loads, which architects, engineers typically all have. So this shouldn't take long. It's gonna take longer to do the project than it is to get the plans.
And who do you have that's gonna replace this roof?
There's a local contractor that I'm looking to have join. I don't know if his name is in here. It's Hugh, first name. Mike is familiar with the contractor.
Oh, Wade?
Yeah, Wade.
Wade Hebert?
Is he available to do this roof within the month?
He's able to start it within the month, yes. I mean, I'm certainly entirely in favor of seeing, the shell enclosed in, because that's the only thing that'll permit any work to be done inside of the winter.
I'd like to see this done by the end of November.
45 days, I put you in the third week of November.
If we don't start putting some time notice on this and start pushing, I see this project stretching out till next summer. And it's, the neighbors have certainly been patient. I think the village board has been very patient. It's time to move forward with this.
Care to put that in a form of a motion?
I make a motion that the roof, the shoring up of the building, and the buttoning up of the building be done by, at the very latest, the end of November.
About 50 days.
I don't have a calendar in front of me,
No,
I'll
that's
pick a
fine.
day in
No,
November.
that's fine.
I just,
No, it's
So November 30th.
Is that,
it's well past, so.
yeah. Okay, have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion on this matter? You'll be working with Michael?
Absolutely.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else, Ken?
No.
Okay. Have a report from the codes enforcement?
You have my monthly report. Been a relatively quiet month. I've been working with Mr. Delafrange off and on, the architect and engineers. Other than that, there's basically nothing. I mean, complaints of basically zilch. Just answer a few questions here and there daily. About it.
Do I have questions for Mr. Tetro? Okay. I'll give my report before the public hearing. Blacktopping continues in the village with streets being covered that were sorely in need of attention. As of today, because of the rain, attention is still needed on River Street, Elm Street, and the community playground, where the basketball ice skating area will be located. Thanks to the Clinton County Highway Department for repaving some of our village streets, helping out our DPW workers. The playground is getting attention. The swings are almost ready to put into the ground, and other pieces of equipment are being repainted and ready to be installed soon. On October 2nd, on Wednesday, October 2nd, I presented a grant proposal to fund the 4-piece adult workout stations at the playground and the creation of a 9-hole disc golf course next to the playground area and along the village park at River Street. This is a $10,500 grant request, and I received positive response from the legislators. The final vote for approval will be this Wednesday at the regular county meeting. I plan to attend this meeting. 2 notes of interest. I was interviewed today by a reporter from WPTZ Channel 5 about local law number 1, and the reporter expressed an interest in a follow-up public interest story on the playground as work on it progresses. And I was interviewed by a reporter from the North Countryman who was doing a destination story about the village and was asked about the many things we do and have here in the village. Village Fest, our community garden, music in the park, tree lighting ceremony, and the new playground, to name but a few of our events. The reporter will be here Wednesday to take some photos to accompany the article. The town of Champlain has requested a full meeting of both boards later this month to discuss the formation of an intra-municipal agreement between the 2 boards. The water and wastewater project is at a point where money is needed to be borrowed to get the project moving forward while we wait for grant funding. The project is above the funding level for grant money and qualifying for a 0% loan. Once grants are awarded, the band will be repaid and the town, as the lead agency, will be released from that debt. Unfortunately, as with every project this size, more debt will be incurred as the project moves forward. I still believe the benefits to the village with this water wastewater project outweigh the risk involved. So there is the need for an inter-municipal agreement. This will have to entail a special meeting later this month as soon as the town can set it up with its boards, or its board, lawyers, and engineers. I hope to give this board and the public as much advance notice as possible so we can all make plans to attend this important meeting. Without this meeting, the project does not move on, and a very important opportunity will be missed. So information will be forthcoming on that special meeting later this month so that we can sit down and come up with an agreement that will work on this water project. I mean, we've been at this now for 5 years, somewhere in that vicinity, and we finally have, I think we finally have the steps in line for us to move forward on this. And yes, it involves a great deal of money, but I think the benefits that both the village and the town will receive from this project far outweigh the potential risk of not going forward. If we don't, then that's an opportunity that we've missed for a lifetime. We won't get this chance again. Okay. Thank you. Trustee Tremblay?
I have no report this evening.
Okay. Trustee McFetrich?
I'd just like to say that the playground progress is remarkable. It's pretty interesting to watch that being done. Also thank Mayor Martin for going down and presenting that at the county level for that disc golf. I think that's going to be awesome. And there was a zoning board of appeals meeting that I was out of town for, but it's dealing with a use variance on a motorcycle club.
It was a special use permit.
Yes, I'm just reading it right off the minutes. Yep. That I missed, but the public hearing for that is this Wednesday at 5. October 9th at 5 is the public hearing for that. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Champlain?
I don't have anything formal to report, but I want to reiterate what Janet just said. Thank you for your attendance to the legislators for that grant for the playground. I'm sure it's made a huge difference, so thanks for your time.
Harry McManus was very influential in getting this pushed forward, so word of thank you also goes to him. Trustee Garrett?
I have nothing this month.
Okay. All right. It was a little early. Need a motion to go out of the regular meeting.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing for local law number 1 of 2013 is now open for public comment.
You want to start?
Sure, certainly. Go right ahead.
Stephen Meyer, 80 Oak Street. I have a question, and I'd like to follow that by a comment on the laws proposed. My question is this. Can anyone on the board explain to me why the keeping of domesticated animals in the context of an accessory use is a problem for the village of Champlain?
I don't know if the accessory use is it's the animals themselves, keeping the animals in the village proper.
Let me rephrase the question. Keeping animals, limited to keeping animals which are accessory uses, with that limitation, which is how the law reads today.
Mhm.
Okay. Let me rephrase the question a little bit better. How is a domesticated animal, okay, we'll make it specific. If my next door neighbor wants to put 6 chickens in his backyard, how does that threaten the quality of life, health, or safety of the residents of Champlain?
Even from the recommendation of the zoning board of appeals, chickens were outside the definition of a common household pet.
That's not my question. I understand that, and the state will have their say on that. My question is, if my next door neighbor decided to put 6 chickens in his backyard, 6 hens, how would that threaten the health, safety, or quality of life of the residents of the village?
Well, I would assume that the principal use of the structure, you make a good point, I don't know how it would actually affect the physical health of the neighborhood. It's just
Health, safety, or quality of life?
or the quality of life, I assume. It is just the idea that under the definition of animals in common household pets.
That was my question is how would that, hypothetically, how would that affect? I am not trying to have the debate of the definition of domesticated animals. Just saying.
Okay.
Question is chickens. How are they a problem?
Well, if they get out and they run around the neighbor's yard picking at things, or attracting dogs or something, I think that would, I don't know, that would affect, I would think, the neighbors, they wouldn't like
Okay,
that
so
very well.
containment.
But are we even discussing whether or not this local law is addressing strictly the health and safety?
Well, okay.
You know,
Follow-up question.
I think that
What
a lot
is
of-
the aim of the local law? If you're not trying to promote health, safety, or quality of life, what are you trying to promote?
Trying to control what animals are
So,
residing within the village,
but
period.
To what end? Why is that important?
I moved to this village 25 years ago. If I wanted to move to the country to live near the farm, I would. I grew up on a farm.
So,
that's
no
part
answer.
of it. Village setting is no farm animals, period. I think that's the best way to put it.
I think the crux of this law is to clarify
Yeah.
Fair enough.
the idea of animals and common household pets. We took out the part last month, at last month's meeting, took out the part that are kept inside at night.
I'm satisfied that you're not gonna give me any comments on health, safety, whatever. Let me comment on the law as proposed specifically. There's a clause in the proposal which says that there can be exceptions granted if a use variance is obtained. Are you aware of what the criteria are for a use variance?
I'm not, I'll have to admit it. No, Mike, can you enlighten us here?
You mean the 4 criteria?
Yes.
4 criteria?
The first of the 4 criteria is that for each and every permitted use or special permitted use within the zone where the property is located, the applicant cannot realize reasonable return, provided the lack of return is substantial and established by competent financial evidence. What this means is the Zoning Board of Appeals cannot grant a use variance unless they are encountering a hardship which would make their property so diminished in value is that they'd never be able to get their money back. All right? No reasonable return. Can't make a profit, no reasonable return, as supported by significant financial evidence. So, if someone were to say, petition the Zoning Board of Appeals and say, I really want to have a pet pot-bellied pig, right? Fill in the blank, whatever. There are essentially no circumstances under which the Zoning Board of Appeals could grant that, because I can't see any way that you could make the argument I'll never get my money back on my property if I don't get my pig. All right? And this is one of 4 criteria, all of which have to be met. Now, I suspect that there was a modest error in the drafting of this legislation. And perhaps what you really meant, as the mistake you made earlier, is that a special use permit would be the more appropriate tool rather than a use variance in this case.
Mike, would you explain to the board the difference here?
A use variance is typically the hardest variance to get. Any zoning action that you have, you can't just tell people that no, you can't do it. They're always entitled to apply for a variance, whether it be area variance, special use, or use variance, whichever applies. In this case here, I believe the wording of the use variance was written into the legislation to let people know that yes, you do have a recourse. It's not to say that you're going to be granted anything under a use variance, because as Mr. Meyer pointed out, it's going to be very difficult to prove it. If you go to a special use approval, that means that that use is allowed. So for the zoning board to disallow it, they would have to come up with all the criteria of why we can't allow it. Because special use is an allowed use by special use approval. It's not something that is not allowed. That's why I don't agree with Mr. Meyer.
Do you want to know what the criteria are for special use approval?
Yes, enlighten the board, please.
In order to approve a special permit, the Board of Appeals must find that the use complies with all the requirements of this chapter for the zoning district in which it is proposed to be located. If approved, the use must be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the chapter, taking into account the location, character, size, and proposed use, the description and purpose of the district in which the use is proposed, and the nature and intensity of the activities involved, and the availability of public services and facilities. Also, the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the proposed use should not create public hazards from traffic congestion, parking of automobiles, or otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or general welfare of persons residing or working in the neighborhood, such that the proposed use or be detrimental or injurious to the property and improvements in the neighborhood or to the general welfare of the village. It goes on. But basically it's saying it needs to be appropriate for the character of the neighborhood, and there can't be any health or safety or creating traffic problems or anything of that nature. That is the threshold. I could continue to read, but you know, it's more stuff like that.
Well, apparently there's an issue with appropriateness in the neighborhood. If the neighbors are complaining
And yes,
and concerned,
absolutely. And this is the appropriate level of requirement for moving forward to come before the board. And if the board believes that it's appropriate to the neighborhood and doesn't present any concerns, then they can go forward. If the board says no, then the answer is no. And that's actually workable. You know, if somebody comes up and says, I want to have 75 llamas, you know, the board's going to say, no, that's not reasonable. All right? If someone comes in and says, well, I want to have one pot-bellied pig, they might say, well, you know, tell me more about it, and you know, you know, if you just want one but not two, or something like that, then maybe, you know, I can't speak for the entire board. I can, you know, offer up some opinions on how I feel about it, but it would offer the board the latitude to actually make a decision, whereas the use variance does not give the board any latitude. It's pretty much a no. There's no way that we can be compliant with New York state law and say yes to any use variance for an animal. So you might as well just strike it from the law, if, you know, as much as put it in there, because it ain't gonna happen. And I think it's a misunderstanding of what the use variance provision actually is.
okay. And next,
That was my comment.
thank you. Ms. Mayor.
My name is Lisa Pack. Actually, I was born here in Champlain. I don't live in the village, but I live in the town of Champlain. I was watching the news tonight, and I actually came in support of Mr. Meyer. I was shocked to hear that you wouldn't be able to keep backyard chickens in the village of Champlain, because in the city of New York, you can keep chicken coops on the roof and you can keep them in your backyard. And they limit the number of chickens, and I'm not sure, it was a while back that I did some research on this. I'm not sure what the limit is. It may be like 10 or 12. It's for family use, it can't be for commercial use. And I noticed during Irene that, you know, when they were showing the fires on Staten Island, that a lot of the firemen had the chicken fencing around the flower beds where they kept their chickens there. So I was amazed to hear, and a bit shocked, that here we are, a little upstate New York rural town where you wouldn't be able to keep chickens, and especially, you know, as pets essentially. And the eggs go for the family, and it's very popular throughout the country right now. You can even order chicken coops from Amazon.com. So I just came to support what he wants to do, because he should be allowed to keep his chickens. I mean, we're a rural town. I mean, we have huge backyards, and the whole idea is to keep them corralled, and I can see why there was a problem with the chickens going over the neighbors. Although if I was a neighbor, I wouldn't have cared, but but you know, I really felt that somebody should come and make a point of that. It's not just in New York, it's throughout the country. It's becoming very, very popular.
Very good. Comments have been noted. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Vinny Gay,
Mhm.
and I was brought up down the Rapid Road, Champlain, New York. And we were 14 in our family, we had 5,000 chickens. If we couldn't have had chickens, maybe we'd have been on welfare. So I really think it's really nobody's business what this man's doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Noted. Yes.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm Brian Shadai. I'm in support of Mr. Meyer too, as far as the chickens. To me, a chicken's hardly a nuisance animal. If they do get out, it wouldn't be much of a bigger issue than somebody's dog getting one, so it happens from time to time. You know, having a couple of chickens in the backyard could be a good educational tool if you have young children. Teach them how to raise them, you know, so let them see the whole process, the egg from the chicken right to the dinner plate. And I mean, my neighbor's bird feeder would be more of a nuisance than chickens, because with the squirrels and bird crap and everything all over everything, you know, you wouldn't be getting that from chickens. So that's just my comment.
Thank you. Thanks.
I've already expressed my opinion once in a short letter to the board. I'm not as passionate probably about as anybody here from the public, but I share everyone's sentiments who've expressed them already. I'd like to see the board either permanently table this or just ignore the matter or dispose of it. I've been lodging right next door to Mr. Meyer as well. I have no complaints or no concerns regarding the chickens or some other animals as well that we have inside the village. I think it actually builds character in the community, and years ago we would have probably seen, if we were old enough in the community, old enough to see it in the community, we would have seen chickens and roosters and things like that, you know, just be a part of the way that, of life. I think the part about the bird feeder is a very good thing. I have a bird feeder that I look at, and it's filled with birds, and every now and again they fly into the window because they think it's a good place to go. There's no restrictions or containment that we can have on the deer, on the rabbits, and on all kinds of other animals that might carry something. And most of the people that are in the village are looking to do the right thing with their animals, whether it be farm animals or pets. Oh, what she said about New York City, I heard the same thing, that there are chickens in New York City, there's chickens in San Diego, allowed by statute. And I think most people in the village want to be reasonable with the number of animals that they're keeping. They're not keeping them on a commercial basis like Giroux's Poultry is down the road. And just in general, I think the board put forth a good faith effort to try to do something, but it's not meeting well with the community. So scrapping it and letting it go would be what I'd like to see.
Thank you.
I guess I'm last. I'm in support of him, myself, and anybody else who's got animals in the village, providing you've got the real estate available to you to house the animals. This village is surrounded by farms. I'm one of them. One across the street. There's numerous farms. If you look at an aerial photograph of the outline of the village, up Prospect Street, the Racine farms, the adjoining farms, and there's virtually hundreds of acres within the village that are still being hayed. There's no cows anymore. The dairy industry is up here. It's pretty much gone. But I bought the Fillion farm as a farm. We've taken down the old barns and rebuilt. Unfortunately, I've got about a tenth of my property that's a triangle piece, only because the village borderline is haphazard, that I pasture sheep on. They may be there for a week this month, a week or two next month. They don't live there. I've got a very appropriate, what they call a high tensile fence system for both keeping the animals in and keeping predators out. And the fact that a situation, whether it be one situation arose, but referencing Donna Barkham at the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the three of us sat there at that meeting, and I believe four of us herself, sir. She was asked directly a pointed question. How many complaints are there about animals in the village? And she said none. None. Zero. So hence, why are we building this law? You know, it's like the old adage, if it's not broken, fix it till it is. I don't see that we need it. On the flip side of this, in looking at the law that you're proposing for the village, I think it's absent of several important things, particularly dogs that are being banned by the insurance industry as predators of humans and particularly children. The feral cat situation in the village has been rampant for years. I mean, your law isn't addressing, as Mr. Meyer was saying, public health and safety and the furtherance of the community. It just seems to be, let's do something for the sake of doing it. Pointless. You know, if he's got 6 chickens and there's no complaints, I mean, why go in a direction that doesn't need to go somewhere? I said, if you're going to pick on something, I said, target the feral cats in the village. They're the largest spread of rabies in the nation. They're the largest spread of diseases for children. You mentioned the village garden, cat feces, whether it be in the village garden, a child's sandbox, or in your own yard, is probably the biggest contaminant factor we have in the village alone. It's the most hazardous to children and pregnant women. You know, you can't see a kid who doesn't touch something. You see a feral cat or kitten, any child's going to be drawn to this type of animal, who are most susceptible to parasites, diseases, and rabies. You know, this is the direction I see something of this nature in animal law going. The insurance industry has got about a dozen dogs. Some vary in their list, but it's usually because of their propensity to attack human beings, and in particular children. This village is littered with them, whether they be out walking or out at large. But there's nothing in this law to address a dog that has a propensity to hurt, you know, people or children, but yet we're addressing a chicken, or in my case, a lamb. Have you ever seen a lamb attack or a sheep attack? I mean, there's no common sense to this. We just seem to be, the board seems to be going in the wrong direction if it's looking at the health and safety and the maintenance of, you know, camaraderie within this village. And then the other thing is the village, you know, granted there's a lot of parcels within the village that the house next door isn't 20 feet apart. I'd say that's definitely inappropriate. You know, if you wanted to house a larger animal, or several smaller animals that would build up. But there's also parcels of property in the village that have an enormous amount of property around it that isn't an annoyance to anybody or anything else. So I can't see creating a law that says it's village-wide, that you can't do this village-wide. It just doesn't seem appropriate. There's no law, and I can remember the family in town, the house I think finally burned. There was over 50 cats in that house, dead in the bathtub, under the house, around the house. They're still roaming the village. There was no ordinance to deal with anything like that. The people were evicted from the house. You can remember that, Mike. I think you've been around that long. Those cats are still at large. There's dogs that roam the village, and they're routinely out there. But again, there's nothing in this law that addresses that. But I think you're looking in the wrong direction. You know, if you want to have a nexus to, you know, sit there and say, well, this is appropriate and this isn't appropriate between a duck, a dog, a dog, or a cat. I mean, I don't think the law is there to do what it's supposed to be doing, to do anything for the village, besides creating a bunch of animosity. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, if I could say one last thing.
Sure.
I remember listening to one of the board meetings, and there was a discussion of goldfish and gold ponds and things like that. I mean,
Flip me in.
that's you know, that's a further extension, which I think the village is operating fine the way it's going right now, and that's how I'd like to see it continue. So that would be my viewpoint, and I've expressed enough opinion, I think.
I sat for the last meeting. I have a goldfish pond. The last meeting, I know Mrs. Gary brought it up and suggested there are people in the village that have ponds. I got a goldfish pond in the middle of a flower garden.
We weren't trying to eliminate those in any way, we were just
But
pointing that out.
But the fact is, enough thought has not gone into this law. It's been kicked around, it's gone to the zoning board of appeals, it's gone around this table, it's been back and forth between the village attorney, Mr. Marshall, that looked like he just plagiarized some other town or village or hamlet's law and picked a bunch of animals out of a hat. You know, and not focusing on the things that should be there, protecting the health and safety of the community. Rabies, contagious diseases, children getting bit by dogs. Was it 2-3 weeks ago, the child in Altona, I mean, local to us, was mauled by a dog, and it's on the hit list for prohibited dogs. But this isn't being addressed. Says, you know, God forbid, when's the last time you've seen a sheep attack somebody? Or a chicken?
May I expand on what Kevin had to say, just briefly? I would much prefer that legislation come together which addresses specific concerns as opposed to specific animals. It was inappropriate for me to let my chickens run, and I took care of that situation. I'm completely comfortable with legislation that addresses keeping animals confined in an appropriate way. I'm completely comfortable with legislation which addresses noise issues, all right, which can make it unpleasant for neighbors. For instance, no roosters. That would be reasonable. I'm completely comfortable with legislation which would address potential smell issues. I know it was suggested that, oh my God, if you interpreted that domesticated animals were, well, what Webster says, cows, pigs, chickens, dogs, cats, someone, oh my God, someone could have a cow. Well, cows in and of themselves are not a problem. Having a concentration of cows in close proximity to other residences is potentially a problem. It's really an issue of appropriate animal density and proximity. And if you address the proximity and animal density issues, which there are plenty of statutes out there in other communities that are written this way, say, you can have, and in fact, the town is looking at some similar language. That's an appropriate way to address smell concerns, right? If there's a specific health concern, I guess that would be the vicious animal thing. But if you were to craft legislation which address specific concerns rather than blanketing animals, I think that would be far more appropriate.
Thank you. Anyone else? What would the board like to do?
The only comment that I have is that at what point do we draw the line? Mr. Myers, you've decided to put chickens in. Kevin, you decide you're gonna bring in some other animal. Ken, you're gonna bring in some other animal. At what point do we have to draw the line and say, okay, this is a village. This is not farm country. This is the village limits. There are neighbors to be thought of. I've had a neighbor who had a pig in their backyard. I did not enjoy that one bit. In July.
Why?
Why? It squawked constantly. It smelled horribly.
All right, smell and noise.
I want to sell my house. I have potential buyers coming in and they're looking at chickens in the backyard. That could be a complete turnoff to not being able to sell my house. We as a village board have to look at the responsibility to the rest of the people that are within this village. And I, for one, am not in favor of chickens being allowed in this village, or pigs, or other farm animals.
Anyone else? It's my recommendation that we table this for further discussion and to get some clarification here. I think we need to look at this a little closer. I agree with what some of the comments that have been given. I have some agreement with Trustee Trombley's comments as well. I think we need to go back to the drawing board here and look at this a little bit.
I would agree with you. There's some very good points that have been made.
Yeah, there
And
has.
And we really have to look at it more carefully.
I think in defense of this law, we were trying to add specificity to it, to the wording that was already there. Well, this is not a totally new law that has been created. I just want to state that, because it kind of sounds that way based on the comments.
May I respond? To redefine domesticated animals as dogs and cats, in my opinion, defies any definition you can find of domesticated animals. I believe that what's being proposed here is not a clarification, but a narrowing of the scope of the law, significant narrowing, in my opinion.
Okay.
Have a motion to table this?
So we'll,
Second.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
aye.
Trustee Garrett.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. Okay. Report from the clerk treasurer. Oops.
Make a motion to go out of public
Thank you.
hearing.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Need a motion to go back into the regular meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Back to the regular meeting. A report from the clerk treasurer, please.
Everyone has their expense and revenue reports for August. We also had water and sewer billing. Water was 53,410.16, and sewer was $89,069.01. Also, last meeting, Amy had a question regarding the electricity bills. The direct energy, which seemed to be kind of high. We received a letter with some credits, as they were charging us the standard, they did a courtesy billing. We're on the variable rate, is what we were with NYSEG Solutions. They charged us the standard marketing rate, which was double the variable rate. So I think at this point, we need to call Direct Energy and ask them to put us back on the variable rate versus the standard market price.
Seems reasonable. We'll call them tomorrow.
Have they issued us a total dollar amount of credits yet? Have you seen
Yes,
that?
they have.
And what was that dollar amount?
Oh, they're on here, I don't know
Oh.
It's
exactly.
taken out the bills.
But I
You see
can-
some of the bills in the warrant for a nickel.
Yeah, it's, I can figure this out for you.
Yeah, okay.
You know, what a credit was given for a certain account number.
Right, yes, but it doesn't give us the specific of what was credited, so, yeah, Juanita, if you can give that to us of the total amount that is being credited, I appreciate that. Because we don't get copies of the bills. I mean, they sent us that information as to where we would see the credits,
Yeah.
but if you
Okay.
could culminate that for us, that'd be great. Thank you for doing that.
Have it emailed to you. Okay. Any other questions for Juanita? The presentation of warrant payment?
We have some additional invoices. The additional invoices amount to $5,140.89.
Notice an increase at the top, Bayside Chimney and Stoves. Increase, we allocated $2,900, the bill came in at $3,050, $150 increase because of,
They had to, well, this roof being finished, they had to step flash and latch back into seal to the roof because they already put it on, and the reason we got the quote was before they changed this roof.
Okay.
And also inside there was a cap in the back that was not up to code. Somebody along the way somewhere had spray foamed the cap in the old chimneys that had been changed, fixed, and furnished cemented, so they repaired that as well. But the repair is complete, there's a new liner in it, so that one.
which was a fire hazard.
Yes, they couldn't leave it like that.
Yep, okay.
They're also approving $150 there.
Right, that's really all we're approving,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we already approved 2,900, so we're
Right.
only approving an additional 150.
yes.
So should this be stated differently here as opposed to us approving 3,000 for the payment, because we had already approved the 2,900?
But the 3,000 is what came in as the billing.
Yeah, we approved the
Right.
okay up to 2,900 last month, so we have to approve this expenditure of the 2,900.
Plus the additional.
Plus the additional.
Because it's going on the warrant, we
So
haven't
we,
paid it yet.
we do the full amount, not just the additional?
Yes,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure on
yeah.
that.
Anything else on the warrant? Any other questions for Juanita? Motion to approve payment?
I make a motion that we approve the warrant with the addition of $5,140.89.
Have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other discussion on the warrant? Roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee Garrett.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. Report from the superintendent?
It's been a busy month.
Yeah.
Our general mowing, trimming, we've been clearing 2 sidewalks and around road signs to get ready for the winter season. Down at the wastewater plant, we changed all the diffusers in the second digester tank. We have got 3 tanks left, we did 5 out of 8. We probably won't get to those until next summer, the other 3, but the other 5 have been done. We've taken our copper lead samples, sent those in to be tested. I think the results came back now, and I think we're good on all of them. That's like a 3-year cycle for copper and lead through the health department, so that's good there. We're trying to get the playground equipment in. It's gonna go, but right when we started, the county called me and they wanted to start our paving. It was supposed to be the following week, and he came the next day and said, we're starting this afternoon, so they were supposed to pave at the airport, and I guess the funds haven't get allocated. So we, Kane Street's been done. River Street, they have 1 truckload left to put on there. No, Canal Street, I'm sorry. Not Kane. River Street, with the rain this afternoon, they got 1 load left. We still have to do in front of, down by Elm Street in front of the old shop, where we put the drainage in. We're supposed to be grading that tomorrow, if it's not too soupy after the rain tonight. And also the, down by the old Napa building, we're gonna grade that off and put asphalt there too for a basketball court, and we just flood it this winter for a skating rink for the kids. We've been changing some of the street signs that were in desperate need to be changed. They were, some were in pretty bad shape. Actually, I've got some more in here now that we need to put up. Our water readings are completed, like you've already mentioned. We've got a couple meters this month that were non-functional or slowing down that we had to change out for water meters. The town hauled in all our sand, so we have all our sand for our roads this winter. We've got to start mixing and get our salt here so we can get that mixed up. I'm planning on brush pickup. I believe October 21st and 22nd, which is a Monday and Tuesday. And then again, probably the 28th and 29th, a Monday and Tuesday, that way people can get it on the weekend. This way here is before Halloween, we like to get it all cleaned up. I believe probably the week of the 21st to the 25th, we'll also be doing hydrant flushing, but we'll put something in the paper. It'll be posted.
If we can go back for just a minute here,
Sure.
Mike, about picking up brush. If the residents want to do their raking early and set their bags out by the street,
We'll pick them up.
we pick them up
I
earlier.
mean, as long as they're within, as far as brush goes, you know, if it's within reason to handle, I can't take logs and we're loading all by hand, so. You know, they used to say 3 foot, but even, 6 foot pieces or whatever, as long as we can get it in a small dump truck to get rid of it.
That's what we allowed, is 1 small dump truck load.
But I mean, as far as size, length, it's not a huge issue. The only thing I asked the village residents, we've got a letter from DEC. I put in, it's not a permit, it's like a special use or a use for Elm Street. Anybody in the village of Champlain can dump yard debris, being brush, leaves, grass clippings. We don't want asphalt products, as far as shingles or anything like this. Has to be loose. Again, I think Sunday I was coming through, I stopped by and people put it in bags and leave it. We cannot have bags there. Because if DEC stops by and sees plastic, it's considered trash and we can get fined. I mean, if it keeps up, I'm gonna have to lock the gate and they'll have to come at our convenience. But right now it's open sunrise to sunset for the village residents, 7 days a week. To put that stuff there, but I asked that it doesn't get abused, because if it does, then we'll have to change things. But there is a sign there with, what it's for, the hours, and what we can take. So I just asked the residents to please, if they bring it in bags, take it out of the bags, take it with them. The only other thing, I got a few issues right now with the plow truck's got an axle seal leaking. They're checking right now. I believe it's still under warranty, but they're gonna make sure. We're gonna bring it, I think Tuesday, Wednesday, they're gonna get fixed. and our backhoe, we broke a cylinder. I think the internal nut loosened up on the cylinder and pulled the threads out inside our backhoe, so right now we're without a backhoe. We brought the cylinder, it's apart, it's at the machine shop now, they're gonna try to rethread the inside of the cylinder and put it back together. Hopefully within the next couple of days I'll have it, just in case, you know, after maybe get a water main break, or, I mean, we're still using it right now, we were in the middle of using it when it broke, but
Who's doing the work on that?
Dragoons have the cylinder and they send it over to the machine shop to cut new threads inside. I mean, it's not something you can see because it's inside the cylinder. We noticed it started to get a little bit sloppy, but it wasn't like bushings or pins that were wore, it was internal and you couldn't see it. And we were digging over here on Elm Street with some pieces of concrete, and we were pushing them, and when we did it banged, the rest of the threads pulled out, the nut must have loosened inside, but it was an unforeseen,
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't see it.
You know, if we have a water main break, we're covered with
Yes,
machinery.
yes, we are. We have, I'm sure that I could get a hold of Alan and they have a backbone. I'm sure that, you know, if we were in need, they would let us use it. And there's other villagers or towns close by that have told me that if we run into trouble, that we were in time of need, that they would come take care of us, so. Yeah,
So we don't get any surprises.
right. That's about all I have, unless somebody has any questions.
Any questions for Mike?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've got some, sorry, I do have some other stuff.
Let's do the questions again. Any questions for his report? Or on his report, about his report? There's something here in correspondence, Mike, that it says, Clinton County Health Department regarding positive total coliform.
Yeah.
We're okay there?
Yeah, we believe that it was, we had some sample bottles, I think they weren't sealed, the caps weren't sealed tight, and I believe that's how they get, bottles got contaminated. We sent samples down, we had one that was high on coliform, so we had to submit, I think, 5 samples from the same place, same residence, one upstream, one downstream, and then raw samples from each one of our wells. And we did that, and they all tested fine, they all came back with no coliform. And we believe that's what it was some bottles we had thrown away, but I think we didn't throw them all away, the ones that had loose caps, and it doesn't take much to contaminate. And about the same time, I see one of the other, on the news, one of the other towns had the same thing, but I don't know if it was from the same reason or not. Actually, we've got, this happened in September. Now being October, I think actually Woody tomorrow is gonna take these samples again, that was the beginning of the month. Because we have to take them the following month as well, to make sure there's still nothing. Because everything came back good, so the following month they make us take the 5 samples over. I believe tomorrow he's pulling them and bringing them down, and then, right now it's clear anyway, but we have to have the following month, the same thing, so that's where we are with that. And actually there is a paper, actually, you guys get correspondence for the use on Elm Street. We didn't really have to have any kind of permit or anything. If we use it for our own, anything we take out of the village and bring there, it wouldn't be a problem because we take grass and brush from, not on our property, from homeowners' property in the village. That's why you need it has to be documented. And then at the end of the year, beginning of next year, I have to send in, you know, they want to approximate how many yards of material we took. But that's what the DEC was for.
Okay.
I've got a few
How
other.
about your request now?
Yeah. One of them is for we got an 18-volt kit we bought quite a while ago, you approved, and I purchased that we use daily. And I'd like to get, right now actually, I noticed they're on sale at Lowe's. They're $99 for a 2-pack of 18-volt batteries. It would be handy to have 2 more batteries. We have 2 now, that's what comes with the kit, but sometimes we use that thing for everything, that kit. I'd like approval to get another 2-pack of batteries for $99.
You're doing this separately, or?
Yeah, let's do it separately, please.
Okay.
There's a number of requests that he has that we need to look at.
All right, so I make a motion to approve the purchase of these 2 additional batteries.
I'll second that.
Second. Discussion here?
Just which account and what money do we have? The rest of this isn't filled out.
Yeah,
A5110.2, equipment, streets equipment. There's $7,600 in there.
Thank you.
my next one, which
Right, we
Oh,
haven't voted
sorry.
yet.
Just like,
Trustee
You get the
Trombley.
money.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee Trustee
Pick a name.
Garrett. Mayor Martin.
I live in Garrett myself.
What's next, Mike?
Peristaltic feed pump for the water treatment plant. Right now, we do not have a spare. The price of the pump is $326.72. And I didn't realize we didn't have a spare until the town had trouble with one of their pumps, and we were gonna give them one of ours to use till they got theirs up and going, and we didn't have a spare here, so we really should have one. If our pump goes down, or it breaks, we can't fix it, then we're in a bind as far as chlorinating all our water here.
F8320.4.
What is it?
what was that again?
F8320.2, excuse me. And there's $8,400 in there.
And Mike, would this be for $396.22?
No.
With the other, so it's just for the?
Yeah, I had,
326.72.
it would be $326.72. That's for the roller head assembly. Actually, the town has a new pump, but that's what had went on theirs. When I had called to price the new pump, I had them price me what it would cost, so I could let those guys know what a new roller head assembly
Okay.
would cost. If we would need one later, that's a common part that goes, this is what the roller head assembly costs versus buying a new pump, you know, $40.
Any shipping here, Mike?
I don't believe so. We can, it's not something we have to have right now. They should have it in stock in one of their branches, and there should not be. They can bring it up a regular truck.
I don't like going without a spare down there, especially for the chlorine.
You know what? F8330, not 20. There's $1,100 in there.
Do you have a second $1,100?
Yeah, that's
That's a big difference.
8330.2.
yeah, 8330.2.
Okay.
Do a second quote for this, Mike.
I don't,
You need a
but
second.
I will get you one.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase up to $326.72 after you've received a second quote. So it's no more than that.
Yeah.
Except the purchase of the lower of the two items.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any other discussion? Approved up to 326.72.
72.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee Garrett.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. Thanks, Mike.
Next is a draft inducer motor assembly for the furnace at the wastewater treatment plant. The motor had seized up. I did fix it, get it going, but it's squealing, the bearings are gone in it. I think it's moisture and water probably over time that got down inside the motor. And this, without this, the furnace won't run. So it is running right now, but if something happens and it quits, there's no heat there. As far as, you know, this winter goes, you have no heat and everything froze up. This is heats the office part as well as the belt press room. And this is not something you can just go anywhere and buy off the shelf. This is for, with freight, you're looking at $222.10, and I believe he told me it's about a week to get it. Which right now is not a problem, but if we're in February and it could be.
You don't want things to be freezing down there in that
Right.
wastewater plant because it's not a pretty site.
If we do, if they do end up approving this, what we'll do is put the new motor on and we'll keep the one that's there for a spare to get us out of trouble. This way it doesn't go in the middle of the night or,
Okay.
Make a motion to expend $222.10 from account number
G 8110.2.
G8110.2 with a balance of,
$300 and 307.
okay, that's gonna drop us down to just 80-some bucks left over. Did I finish that motion? Can't remember what I've said.
Yes, you did.
Thank you.
Have a
I'll
second,
second
please?
it. I'll second
Okay. Any other discussion on this purchase? Roll call, please.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee Garrett.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye.
the next one I have is a quote for a sander for our 1-ton truck. Which we do intersections with in winter as far as plowing. Some of these dead-end streets, there's a few places that we could use it, we would have to put the big dump truck in. This one I've got actually quite a few quotes. They make it two ways. They make it with electric motors, which are, they've been out for a few years, and there's been no issues, or they make it with gas-driven engines on the back of the sander, which those have been out for a long time. My suggestion is electric, because you got less, you don't have to worry about, next thing you know, with this ethanol and gas, you got issues starting, you get extra chains there, you got extra, extra parts to potentially corrode and break or have trouble with. I do have a few quotes. I've got one here from DeRocher's, that's for a Tarco sander, it's all stainless steel. Variable speed control, so you can adjust your beater as well as your track how much sand you're putting out. This one here has a screen shoe, has the extension on it. This one here installed is $5,410.
Any kind of warranty on this piece of equipment?
There will be, but I don't know.
Now, there's parts
Parts and
warranty
weight.
at the top.
I think it's probably 12 months, probably. I would say it's probably a year, but I can find out because this one here. Well, I've got two quotes for the same, basically the same sander. One is installed, one is not. One is drop shipped here. And the difference is, installed is $5,410 and non-installed is $5,129.
That's with the Rocher.
The Rocher is installed, and the one from Penco is the next cheapest one, electric. That was $5,129, and that one is not installed. That's drop ship here. We have to put it in.
Is it much doing that?
Is this something that we can do? It saves us $800.
Yeah.
Yes, something we can do.
It's
No, it's,
$181.
$381 difference, right?
You said 5410
Yeah.
installed.
Versus $5,129.
Oh, I'm looking at 48. I was looking at 48.
Not the next sheet.
Okay, 45.
Now, I'm sorry I didn't have everybody copy sooner. Some of these quotes didn't come in until this afternoon.
Okay, so that's for two electric.
Yeah, it's electric motor, it's double. One of them is for the beater, and the other one is for the chain drive, so you can adjust how much sand you're putting out. It's not just a set amount, and that's what it puts out.
Okay, so can you get a third quote on an electric, so we're comparing the apples to apples? With this amount of money, you have to have three quotes.
Yep.
That are the same.
I've got one right here from Arrowhead, 5330, in the second page.
Okay.
Electric. What I did is I think there's 3 or 4 quotes here, but I circled the two that were the least expensive.
Okay, is the 5330 installed as well?
No, that's delivered here.
Okay, so that's,
It's the only one that you've got that's local is Rocher.
Right. The other ones would be delivered here.
Right.
and are you sure this is something that we can install?
Yes. It's
Does it-
basically a wiring harness that one that goes inside, and with electric it runs off the power of the truck itself. You don't need an extra. There's a wiring harness that goes inside the cab which has your controls. There's a wiring harness that goes to the vehicle itself. And it's, I didn't talk to the fellow at Grocer about it. I talked to the fellow from Arrowhead, and he said it's very simple because those guys charge like an extra $400 to install them. So it's something you can do yourself. It's very simple.
Does it void any part of the warranty by not having
Installation?
them
I do not
installed?
believe so, but I can find out.
Okay, because that would be huge if,
I'm sure there must be at least a year warranty on them.
but
I'll make sure.
I know for certain things that we've done, that we've looked at purchasing for our home, it has to
Right.
be installed
Installed by,
Mhm. Or the warranty is null and void.
I mean, this year, you can look at it or think about it if you wanna do it later, if you have, that's fine. I will find out, as far as making a final decision, I will find out the warranty as far as us installing it versus them installing it.
Is this something that we've had in the past needs replacement, or just something you feel will
Something we
need?
haven't had. All we have is a big truck. We're standing in some of these places where, that
Big
we,
truck just won't fit, it's not economical to put it in there.
some of these places that we have to back out of, and it's a lot easier. You can turn around with a small truck versus a big truck. We're having a few issues as far as getting down some roads and having to back all the way out into the street. There's even places like we take care of the library as well, which is easier with a smaller truck. And inside the water plant or the wastewater plant around, you could use this as well. But it would save, on some of these streets, we take care with a small truck instead of a big plow truck. Or if we get a big storm, we're plowing with both. So, it's something that we have not had before that I'm aware of,
Yeah.
but you haven't had the one-ton dump either.
What account are you looking to take this out of?
A5142.2.
A what?
Say it again, please.
Mike, is this gonna be an
42.2.
issue at all, having
Snow
not having a
removal.
box available? In other words, you have a sander in both trucks, if you have a water break or anything.
Not really, because you can unplug, you have 4 tie-downs, ratchet tie-downs, and you can pull it out, you can empty it out and pull it out.
Okay.
So it's not really.
Mike, what is the lead time on any of these,
What's the lead time on what?
of getting these in?
Getting it in, I did not ask him.
Okay.
So, I'll find out at the same time as warranty-wise. Actually, does everything say on there? They're ramping up for that right now as far as this time of year, but I don't know how many they're installing, as far as if they've installed versus we install. I'm sure that, I don't know, I don't wanna give you a date without checking with them and see.
Well, I can see one thing on Arrowhead, the
Yeah,
The price,
well,
the warranty on the bottom.
The warranty on the bottom, the warranty on our truck bodies is 12 month parts and labor. All repairs must be done at our facility
On
or
their trucks.
pre-approved authorized service.
See, they do the big trucks, boxes and plow blades and this, but I'll find out from Rich, to make sure.
Okay.
If that is gonna be an issue, then
For the difference of
$300.
$281, we're
Yeah.
better off staying in Plattsburgh.
I'd like it to make a motion that we table this item till next month meeting when you have all the answers
Sure.
before we make a vote on it. Plus due to the fact that we have only $2,500 left in this account that it would come out of. And it's a pretty significant expenditure. I understand, what you're saying, it'd be easier, with a smaller truck and everything. Personally, I would like us to wait till next month and table it.
Sure.
And have the facts a little sooner to review
we won't have
prior
something
to the night of the meeting.
I hope.
Let's hope.
Tabled until November.
Okay.
We have a second?
I'll
It's a motion.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else for Mike?
I think he's asked for enough money.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, correspondence, please.
Correspondence from David Marshall regarding Meyer versus Village of Champlain Zoning Board of Appeal. Correspondence from New York State DEC regarding Village of Champlain land clearing debris landfill. Correspondence from Clinton County Health Department regarding positive total call form. Sample, revised local law number 1 of 2013, JCEO monthly report.
You can see that JCO has had a very busy month.
I noticed that.
All right, any old business to come before the board? New business, you've been copied with the TJ Prescott Inventory Management Program, the value added services. I would like the board to look this over. We do a majority of our business with EJ Prescott in terms of water and wastewater issues. Part of this contract would be for 1 year, that we would be purchasing our water and, our hydrants, our pipes, our valves, our bands, our whatever. They come in and manage our inventory for us, manage it at no cost, until we use the part. They will handle, as it says here, why you should be VAS. I think the biggest part, or one of the biggest parts here, is that they will come in and do OSHA training.
So it was scheduled for last week, but we had to cancel because we were paving. We got OSHA in confined space. It's gonna be doing actually the first week in November for us.
And that's a 10-day.
10 hour.
10 hour.
OSHA certificate and confined space training. Otherwise, we'd have to pay to send it, to go away and pay for it.
Another important part of this is we get to use their leak auditing equipment to find our water leaks. And what we found in the past with these folks is that they are much better at locating water line leaks than the firm that we currently use.
But we're only allowed one a year.
Yeah, but I was assured by the person, let me find his name here, Robert Moody. I was assured by him that if we have the need, and the local contractor, Mike McCrae, lives in Rouse's Point, he has access to all of this material. Mike Metcalf, who lives in Rouse's Point, thank you. He has access to this leak auditing equipment, and he will come over and take care of what we need.
Okay.
They are very, customer service wise, they're very accommodating to us. Anything we need, most all the stuff we get down, we get it from them because they're cheaper than any of the other people that come here. The stuff we bought in the past, that's where all our water meters come from, that's where a lot of the stuff comes from. For instance, this week, on Thursday afternoon, John started paving for us. I needed some manway risers for Canal Street and for over here River Street, so when they pave, we can bring it back up to the right height. So he said, I will have them for you tomorrow. He jumped in his truck at 5 o'clock in the morning. He drove to Montpelier and had me here by, or earlier night, he left, he had me here by like 9 something in the morning. I mean, he was here when we had our water main break up here. He was here on site and had somebody on call in Burlington, because if we didn't have what we needed, he was gonna send them. So it's very, customer service end of it is very, very important. And with this here, they guarantee they're 24-hour. If we have a problem, have a water main break, they will have the stuff to us that we need within 2 hours. They guarantee it. The other thing it does, anything we buy, once we sign, if we do sign this program, we get an extended 10-year warranty. So if we sign this this winter or whenever, next spring we put a hydrant in, within 10 years, if something happens, that hydrant goes bad, they have to look at it. They will replace it with a brand new hydrant, and they'll pay the labor cost to put it in.
So what is the benefit of this to them?
The only benefit is to them is the stuff that they sell that we have to buy from them, we can't buy from another vendor.
Okay.
Like all our brass, now some of it's gonna be commodity items. There's a few things that,
Some of the stuff that's on our shelves back there,
Most,
we haven't used
It's
and probably
useless.
won't
Right.
use. And they're
They'll-
gonna buy that stuff back from us.
they'll take it back and give us a credit for it.
Right, I
and we
mean,
can
I
take
see
it
plus,
off
plus,
as-
plus for us.
Right.
And then it says, all this will be seen in Exhibit A, which we didn't get a copy of Exhibit A.
That's the price list.
I do have that, it's a set price for everything. And what it is, that price list is, the items they sold the most of last year, they update it and give you a list, it's a price list of, now they're guaranteed, this happened to them last year, I was explained, when brass, I think it was last year, when brass had shot up.
Right.
They're locked in with their vendors, so they were selling brass to these people less than they could buy it for if they wouldn't have been locked into their vendors. And they guaranteed to keep the stock that we need at their warehouses, so we would never be out if we needed it. It's a win-win actually for us. The only benefit to them is the stuff that we get, and we have to buy it from them, that they sell, and we don't go just buy it from anywhere. That's the only, the benefit on their end of it.
Are we allowed to do that though, if there's a price for an item that is requiring us to get quotes? I mean, is this some kind of agreement that we're allowed to enter into as a municipality? I mean, it sounds great, but, on a pricing scale, when you have, certain dollar amounts requiring
I asked
quotes,
the same question.
that's,
Let's go through the legal, we'll get some legal advice on this.
To make sure.
it sounds great.
I mean, and it's stuff
I
that
think
we do
it's a- I
have.
think it's a great
You know,
program.
you state win-win, win-win, yeah, it's win for us, I see, except as, the quotes. I'm a sticker on those.
No, I know.
So, yeah, if you could get us that, I mean, this really sounds very
I
exciting.
mean, even stuff that we have, they'll,
And then come in, they're gonna do an inventory and get
They're
rid
gonna-
of all that antiquated
yeah,
stuff.
stuff that is new, that can be resold, they'll give us credit for. The stuff that's not, then we'll probably just end up keeping, because we're not gonna send it for scrap or anything like that. You don't know when you're gonna, But anything that's new that we have extra or a lot of, they will take it back and give us credit for it, and just keep it on, so they can resell it, basically. The other thing with this program is, people are on this program, if we need a part, and say the town of Shazy, water and wastewater is on the same program, if they need a part and we have it, they'll come here, call me or whatever, and see if they can come here and get it, to bring it to them to take care of, because they're close by, and then they'll bring it back to me to replace it.
Oh, nice.
Vice versa, between the towns.
Which
Yeah.
builds great
That's nice.
Right.
camaraderie between the communities.
And we have before, I know hydrant wrench, Shazy had a broken hydrant, and we let them borrow our big long seat wrench. Not everybody has one, but it's one of those things that, and that's happening a lot now with, even us in the town of Champlain, Village of Ross's Point. I mean, there's been a lot of, shared service between, which is a big thing.
Now, what stopgaps are you gonna put into place for when we reduce an inventory? Because it says we're responsible for that, so that we're sure that,
They set a computer program up here.
okay,
So once we can decide what we wanna keep for inventory. They don't decide for us, say
Right.
we wanna keep 2 of each band. As we use them, we just mark it in there. And then he gets a sheet at the end of the week or whenever and calls me. They don't just automatically send it, to replace it back to the same stock. And then yes, and then they'll bring it up, within however many, few days or whatever when he comes up. He usually stops here once a week anyway, but that's part of the deal, I have to come once a week. Once we go through it all, we know what we have for inventory, and it's all listed right out. And actually, I can go on a computer and see what they have, and see if they have it in stock, if there's something we need there with them.
Okay.
so we
there
would
is-
need to find out legality-wise if
The
we
quoting
can
issues.
even do something like this, an automatic reorder, especially with dollar amount limitations.
Let's
Well, it
ask,
wouldn't be an automatic reorder, but it would automatically come up,
That you need it.
that you need it.
Right,
You
and
wanna
we'd have to
replace
bring
it.
it for vote, but if we have to buy it through them and we get our 3 quotes and we see the other 2 quotes are much
Cheaper.
lower, that's gonna be
we go with the other
a
vendor.
concern, right? And we can't if we sign this agreement.
Right.
I know, that was my concern too.
We'll look at the legalities of it and see what
I asked the same
I'm sure there are other
Yeah,
municipalities
is
that are
anyone else
involved in
using
this.
this? Do you know anyone who's
So we
using
can
this?
contact them.
Locally,
and
I
see.
don't, but like I say, he
Mike
brought
does.
this to us, and Mike, the salesman that comes
Okay.
around, he knows.
So let's explore this a bit more and see where that takes us. One of the things that was brought up at the last board meeting was appointing an alternate to the zoning and or planning boards. We reached out to NICOM about being able to appoint a member of the zoning board as to an alternate position on the zoning board. And according to NICOM, there is no well, I'll just read it. In my opinion, in general, the position of the zoning board of appeals member and planning board member are not incompatible. However, see the attached opinion of the Office of the Attorney General, which states that such positions may be incompatible. And as I read this, and I think you were copied with this, were you not?
No.
No, I don't have that.
Well, we'll get you a copy of this. And the conflict seems to be if the person who is on the planning board, and is the planning board under the review of the zoning board of appeals? Is that how it's written in the code here? I think it is.
The planning board is under the review of the zoning board?
The zoning board can review the planning board decisions.
I didn't know that.
I don't know. The planning board here does subdivision review and site plan review.
Right.
Yeah,
The zoning board does interpretations and variances, so.
after the planning board has made a decision.
But
No,
they're different.
Yeah, I know, they're different, but,
the planning board doesn't review variances from the zoning board,
okay.
so I would say no.
So that would mean that this appointment would be compatible to both positions, as I read this law.
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally, you have alternates for each board. Like you have a zoning board alternate and a planning board alternate, different people, not the same person.
Well, we have someone who volunteered to be an alternate, who is currently on the planning board, but would also at times be able to sit on the zoning board of appeals. He wants to increase his involvement here in the village. He seems to be a very nice person, very concerned in looking at things. I would like to recommend that we appoint Keith Ketterer as an alternate to the zoning board of appeals. Need a motion?
So moved.
Have a second?
I'll second it. So he's currently on the planning board?
He was appointed to the planning board last month. He stated his interest in serving in a zoning board position as well, as was, I think you brought it up last time.
Yes, I
meeting.
did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He might come to Wednesday night's meeting.
Okay.
I don't see any reason why they're gonna be a problem there.
I don't see it would be a problem. And actually, the planning board has not met in a very long time.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on this appointment? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any more discussion on the personnel policy?
Discussion from what?
Well, we went into executive session last time.
Mhm.
We kept a provision in the personnel policy dealing with insurance, but we never approved the personnel policy for the year.
We came back out, we hadn't
Oh.
approved it yet.
I think that was the only bone of contention that we had.
Okay.
Yes.
Just the 10%.
Okay, sorry, I'm thinking, going through my head, everything.
So we decided on that issue and we have to approve the entire policy. Do I
Yes.
understand it right?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so I
correct.
make sure that I.
We made
Yeah,
decision on
the whole
issue.
policy has never been approved.
Okay, being the new person here.
Not in a
Make
couple
sure I
years.
get it. Thank you.
Need a motion to approve the personnel policy?
So.
Have a
So
second?
moved.
Second.
Now discussion? If there's no discussion, we'll have a roll call vote.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee McFetrich.
Aye.
Trustee Trombley.
Aye.
Trustee Garrett.
Aye.
Mayor Martin.
Aye. My final request is, Mike, when is the person going to do this roof back here?
Actually, I called him again today, he hasn't got back to me, but I had talked to him a week ago. He was finishing 2 roofs and he was supposed to be coming to start this one. So I probably will hear from him tomorrow.
Okay, I'd like to see him back here before the cold weather really sets in here.
His materials have been here for 2 weeks now. Got all the materials out back, they brought them, but he hasn't been by to finish it.
Okay.
He's gotta get here.
All right, let's get it moving a little quicker if we can. Okay, any other business come before the board?
No, just one more question for Mike. With the asphalt being laid down for the basketball component of this, do we have to have the hoops to place to pave around it, or do you then
No, we'll
drill
probably,
in?
We can cement it in
probably
after.
cement there.
And it
After
would
they're
create
anchored
an
and-
issue with the asphalt?
No, because we can put them on the ends, up to where the ends are, bring them up.
And we'll also have to consider buying a fence to put around it too.
We're,
Kevin said he had fencing, remember at the
Yeah.
last meeting?
Yeah.
I gotta see it, talk to Gary about it. I think what I'm gonna do for now, once we get it paved, along the front edge of where we pave, a little ways from the sidewalk, I'm gonna put either some, like rebar rod with PVC over it or something so nobody can drive in there. Drill right on the edge and put them down through this way. Here it's got markers all the way through there, way nobody drives in there once we get it paved.
Right, or
Because
for
people
an
like to turn
accident
around.
too, coming off the road,
People like turning around,
yeah.
if they hit it, they're gonna go through it. But the biggest thing is to keep people from driving on there once we get it,
Oh, I
once we
see
get
what you're
it.
saying.
Well,
It used to be a parking lot, so a lot of people miss a turn or whatever, they pull through there,
Right,
there is a
pull
business
around.
right there too, so.
So, yeah,
So you're saying you're gonna put some temporary and complete the fencing in?
right.
Yeah.
Something that, if somebody could drive through it where it's not gonna destroy anything, but I was thinking, we'll either put small pipes or we'll put like rebar pieces with PVC over them with reflectors on, down through, so that way, there's no way to drive between them 6 foot apart or whatever. As more of a temporary till we put the fence up. This way here, nobody can drive through there.
And have you ordered signs for this park, that this is a non-smoking area?
Already
They're
here,
already here.
Beautiful, thank you.
Eastern Adirondack Health
Yeah.
supplied the signs and they'll
Nice.
supply more that we need.
Thank you.
Any other business before the board? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for coming, folks.
I wish you
Appreciate
could
that.
have done this, I got so upset.